Is the man behind Jeffrey Scott Consulting. In fact, he's the president. He runs the largest peer group network in the US landscape industry. He helps green life businesses speed up and manage their business growth. His presentation today is sponsored by gold sponsor ICL, who have also given us some prizes today. ICL are a provider of world-class specialty fertilisers. We're going to hear from Jeffrey himself, the president of Jeffrey Scott Consulting, and then we have a Q&A session with him magically via Zoom. And he's over here. Welcome him. It's in the evening over there.
Hello, hello.
Good evening, Jeffrey. Take the stage.
So you can see me and my PowerPoint, correct?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So thank you very much. It is 6 p.m. here in New Orleans, but we are wide awake here. We've been very excited about this all day. I want to share with you how to build a roadmap to scale up your business. But first, let me share a couple things about me. I help landscape entrepreneurs over here in the US and Canada to fix, scale, or exit their companies. And I really work with everyone in what we call the green industry. I've consulted with 350 companies over the last 15 years. I'm going to share with you really what I've distilled down and learned is important in order to scale your business. And also, I think you found me by this podcast. I started this when the pandemic hit a few years back, interviewing other successful landscape green industry entrepreneurs. And it's called The Ultimate Landscape CEO. It comes out every 3 weeks. It's free. And so if you want to get inspired and, I think a lot of what we do is the same the world over. Business is difficult. It can be painful. It can be joyful, and it's really a way to fulfill your dreams and your own destiny and passions. And so this podcast here might be something for you to listen to. It's on Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast channels, or not all of them, but many of them, easy enough to find. So let's start with this American businessman, Warren Buffett. He is really the master at scaling up one's business and businesses, right? This is a chart of his net worth. It's crazy. So if you go here on the left-hand side, when he's 14, he started with $5,000. At 15, he had 6,000. At 21, he had 20,000. He quadrupled it. Let's see, at the age 30, he got to $1 million. At the age 39, he was at 25 million. If you keep going here, age 52, 376 million. And ironically, like right now, I'm 59. And so at his age, 59, he had 3.8 billion. And he kept going. And now he's got 91 billion, or as of this is a couple years old. And so he's really the master of patience, taking the long view, focusing on really great companies and great teams. And if you distill down what he has done, you could distill it down to these 3 points here. So he really invests in proven companies with a great product, a great market position, a product that he feels will just keep growing over time. He also buys companies with great teams. And he's learned that companies will scale when they have great teams. So he buys great companies that are run by a great team, and he really empowers the teams to do what they do best. He doesn't go in, he doesn't micromanage. He really empowers them. And then the money he makes, he's always reinvesting in the companies, in new companies. And he's learned the secret, if you will, of compound reinvestment. I'm going to go back a slide here. There you go. There's the secret. You keep compounding your investment over time. And after a while, you've really built something that's pretty significant. And so those are his secrets. We're going to take some of these, and I'm going to apply also the secrets that I've learned over time here. And I want to take you through these 6 very specific behaviors, actions, initiatives, foci that you can take in order to scale your business. So we're going to cover all 6 of these. Some might be a little bit soft and, a little more soft, like vision and culture. Some are more specific, like building your leadership team. Number 3, choosing your mountain. I'll talk to you about what that means and how to do that. Number 4, simplifying your business. Some of you may not want to do this, but it does help scale, and so it's there for your consideration. Number 5, accountability to your systems. Very important. And lastly, gamifying your operations. So we're going to cover all 6 of these. You'll find that you're probably already strong at some of these. Some you may not even want to do, might be sort of opposite of the way you feel, and some will be new to you and you really want to embrace. If you can come away with 3 actions from this talk and put them into place, even just 3 things, you'll be miles ahead and that much better off in your business. So look for 3 things that you can grab onto from this whole presentation. And so let's talk about number 1, the vision and cultural foundation. I found a photo of Moses on the internet. It's amazing. You can find so many great things on the internet. He looks a bit like Charlton Heston, the famous American actor, but I'm pretty sure it's Moses. And that's a joke, by the way. And Moses and what he did really is I think it's the original example of vision and cultural foundation. And so the vision he laid out, for those of you that studied the Old Testament, was, hey, Jews, we're going on this journey. We're going to find the land of milk and honey. We're leaving Egypt, and we're making our way through the Sinai, and we're going to this new place. That's really what a vision is for a company. You're taking your employees to the future, 3 years out, 5 years out. You're taking them, you're going to create something new with them. And if I could zoom into the future and look at one of your companies 3-5 years out, hopefully I would see something different. New facility, new employees, new products, you've grown. It should look different. And so think about Moses and this land of milk and honey when you think about building a vision that will excite people and keep them on a difficult journey, right? The Israelites were lost for 40 years in the desert. If only they had GPS, but they didn't. But it was a journey, and it took, Moses keeping that vision out in front of people. And so that's the vision. And the cultural foundation, of course, is the 10 commandments, right? Here's the do's, here's the don'ts. If you guys follow these rules, we'll be good. And I think that's the simplest way to talk about vision and cultural foundation. And this is the foundation for any scaling company. This is not a religious talk. It's just sort of an example that almost really everybody knows. And so I'm going to show you an example from a landscape company I've worked with, Naylor Landscape Management. And so here is their cultural foundation, really in a set of values that it's probably hard to see. I can send these, I'll send the PowerPoints out later, and then you guys can pass them out to everybody who's participating. But you'll see that their values follow fired up: family first, integrity, respect, education, dedication, upbeat, and professional. And so Naylor Landscape Management, they teach these values at every meeting. They hire by these values. They promote. They recognize employees using these values. They fire by these values. If you live and die by your values, people will take them seriously. And so getting everybody on the same page for this journey of scaling up your business, very critical. Some of you out there are probably doing very well. Others of you are experimenting. Very important. And I've written a book on how to build this destination company. I'm going to send the organizer here a link so you can download a free copy of my book. And it will help you with also building this cultural foundation for those that want to learn more about this. The vision is the hardest part. Now, Moses was basically told what to do. I think. I'm not a historian or that much of an expert, but I think he was basically given the vision. Here's where you're taking your people. You, on the other hand, have to come up with your own vision for your company. It's hard to do. I think it's, in fact, the hardest thing to do out of anything we're going to talk about here. We're so busy in the day-to-day working on this year's goals, right? It's very easy. We have dreams about where we want to be in 10 years. That's relatively easy because it's vague and out there. But creating a 3-year vision of the future that's concrete, that describes really where we're going, that's very hard to do. It takes the most amount of time and thinking, and it's something that you have to really spend time intentionally doing. You have to get away from the business, write down your vision, and then you want to share it with people and get their thumbprints on your vision. And so this is the copy. This is the book. I'm going to send out a link so you can read more about it. Spending time to get your vision clear, even putting it up on a dream board, if you will, somewhere in your office, and letting people add their ideas to your vision and letting them add the how-tos, how we will achieve that vision, is very important. It's all very soft. This is maybe the soft part of the presentation. Absolutely critical to get people to go on that hard journey. The green industry is not easy. Growth is not easy. And so when they can buy into something that's as aspirational as, hey, we're going to the land of milk and honey, here's what we're building. And if everybody understands the rules of the game, here's the 10 commandments that we live and die by, people will get on board and they will walk through walls for you when you set this up. So this is let's call it the first pillar out of the 6 pillars I'm going to share with you today on how to scale up. Here's a tip for you. Anybody can do this, very helpful. There's something called the Net Promoter Score. It was all the big rage the last couple of years, maybe even the last 10 years. And if you don't know about it, you can Google about it, the Net Promoter Score. I advise doing the ENPS, the Employee Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score was built for measuring client satisfaction, but you should measure employee satisfaction. Do this survey once a quarter, once a semester. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend a close friend or family member to work at our firm? What's the score, 0 to 10? And then you ask, what could we do, if it's a low score, to raise the score up to a 10 or 9.5 or 10? And if it's a high score, what should we keep doing? And so it's those qualitative feedbacks that you get will be very helpful for you to find the holes in your bucket, why people might be leaving or unhappy, how to get people giving you a 10 rating for working at your firm. Doing this type of survey and doing it repeatedly will really solidify your culture even more. It's not just the hoorah rah, but it's also the here's the problems and let's fix them. So no matter what you take away from this, if you start asking everybody what could be improved, asking them repeatedly, and then even being accountable to them in company-wide meetings, hey, here's what we've improved this past quarter, people will really start to believe even more, and they'll give you even more feedback on how to build a great company. I call it a destination company. That's the book I wrote. And that's will give you a great vision and cultural foundation for scaling your business. So that's number one. Now I want to talk about this super leadership team, right? We talked about the whole company and getting everybody on board. Now we need a core team to lead the scaling of your business. Absolutely critical. There's very few silver bullets in business. This is one of them, getting this team in place. And here's my way that I look at teams and really any employee. Really, I put them on 2 scales. So the vertical scale here is high performer, low performer. How well do they do their job? And the horizontal here is not aligned, or they are aligned with your values, your 10 commandments. And so this is an exercise you can do with your leadership team, or you can do it on your own about your leadership team. Write the names of everybody on your team in this quadrant. You ideally want people in the upper right quadrant. They're high performers and they're aligned with your values. Those are your team players. On the bottom left are the profit drainers. They're not really good performers and they're not even aligned with your culture. They probably shouldn't be in your company. And then on the bottom right, we have underachievers. They're aligned really well with your values, but they're not performing well. They might be on the wrong seat on the bus where they could perform somewhere else. I call those underachievers. And then the top left, they're high performers, but they're not aligned with your company. These are the worst. These are the culture killers. The ones that do such a great job that you're almost deferential to them, but they're killing your culture. These are the people that get away with murder in your company because they're high performers, because you need them, because they have respect of everybody else because they're high performers, but they're really doing things that are killing your culture. And these are the ones that have to go. As painful as it is, you either have to do a dramatic course correction with them, which is hard to do if they're really on the left side and not aligned with your values. And these are the ones that are most difficult to let go. I call it promoting to a different company. They're the most difficult to promote to a different company. But when you do, the whole company pulls together and says, oh, about time, Mr. or Mrs. Boss. Thank God you did that. And the team will align. So you can use the schema here to measure your team. A super leadership team has to be high performers. They've got to be aligned with your values. They've got to be team players. And when you can cultivate, like a garden, when you can cultivate that team of team players, that's when your company will really start to take off. Absolutely key. I've never seen a company really scale without this. And I've never seen a company really become profitable and really start to scale even faster without the owner or the ownership team addressing this issue and getting a high level team in place. Now, you can take this concept and push it down into your company. So if you're a small company, you might only have one person on your team. It might be one person that you're lying. It might be you and one person. That person better be an A player. Number two is that leadership team. Now you need a team of A players. And the next level down is their direct reports. To really take off, to take this to a dramatically better level, even their direct reports should be A players. I always tell owners I meet, make sure all your direct reports are A players. It's okay, you're going to have B players, C players on your team, but your direct reports should be A players. And then once you build that, you want your leadership team to do the same. Hey, make sure that your direct reports are really the A players. And when you can build this super leadership team down 2 levels, nothing will stop you. You can handle any drama, any chaos, any upset, whether it's from the weather, storms, new AI technology, law changes. Strong teams will overcome all challenges. Now, I'm going to talk about a second in command for a second. This is sort of an extra topic here, but I just want to touch on it briefly. All great visionary leaders find that they're not really great at implementers. Some of you are, you great visionary leaders, but many of you are not. Most of you are not great implementers. And you're not good at implementing your own ideas. You're not good at integrating your different ideas together and the different systems together. You're not really good at instituting, holding people accountable to, let's say, your 10 commandments and all your processes. And so a good second in command at your side will do wonders to help you fulfill your role as the owner and visionary. You still need a whole leadership team, but somebody on that team, ultimately 9 out of 10 of you, you'll need a second in command. Some of you can just get away with a strong team and you don't need the second in command. Let's say 1 out of 10 of you, but 9 out of 10 companies, you also need a great second in command to help you steer the leadership team and all the ideas and all the operations. So that's more of a sidebar here, but very important I have found to help scale. And so we now have spoken about the vision and cultural foundation. We have spoken about building a super leadership team, and that's really a silver bullet. And for 9 out of 10 of you business owners, also a strong second in command will help you greatly. A great book on that, by the way, is called Rocket Fuel. So you can Google that book. It's all about building seconds in command. It's called Rocket Fuel. That's another great book to read. I'm going to mention a few books here to read as we go. I've talked about my book, and Rocket Fuel is another one about building your seconds in command. So now let's talk about choosing your mountain. What does that even mean, right? Let's talk about choosing your mountain. That's really your product that you're known for, your service that you're known for. Jim Collins wrote, here's another book, Good to Great. I'm sure many of you have read it and heard about it. And his whole concept, and it's a great book, his whole concept was picking your focus, what I call your mountain, something you're passionate about, right? So you'll do it in good times and bad. When you're tired and sad and happy and all the emotions, you'll keep driving for it. Number two, it should be an economic driver. That niche or mountain should help really drive the economic foundation of your business. Not all products are drivers of the business, but this one should really be the niche you pick should be the one that helps sell all the other services you do and bring profit to the bottom line. And number three, it should be an area where you want to be best at, and you're just going to drive yourself to be best. So that's how he talks about choosing your niche or your mountain, using these three criteria. I have a slightly different approach that I'm going to add to it, and it's called playing the mountain game. This is actually a game we played with the company that I ran. I also ran a landscape business, and it was my family's business. I took it to about 10 million in revenue, and this is a long time ago. That probably equates to 20 million in revenue today. But I took it to 10 million back in the day. And part of what helped was a consultant that I brought in, that our family brought in, a marketing consultant. And he said, we're going to play the mountain game. And the mountain game is finding the niche where you're number one or number two in market share in that niche, where you can own that mountain, where you can be king of the mountain. And so we looked at all different kinds of mountains that we played on. We did irrigation service, and we were like number 40 in our market area. We did landscaping, and we were maybe number 20 on that mountain. We built swimming pools, and that made us unique. But we still weren't number one on that mountain. We were probably number 5 or 6 on that mountain. And so we ended up creating our own mountain, a company that does pools and landscaping, that did the design in-house and the installation, and then did the maintenance. So we took those 5 elements, and we realized, oh, we can be king of that mountain. And that's the niche that ever since we did that game with that marketing consultant, that's what we marketed, that's what we pushed, and it really made us a market leader. And many people started following us, and still do to this day. I'm out of the business. I sold my shares. My brother runs the business. And to this day, many people following our company because we really got clear on what our mountain was, what set us apart, what our niche was. And to go back to Jim Collins, we were very passionate about it. It became the economic driver. People that wanted pool and landscape gave us all the rest of our business. And we just strive to be the best at it. And so what I'm asking you or suggesting to you is you've got to figure out where you can be king of the mountain. What do you do that you can claim, really have the most market share in, that will drive your business forward? Warren Buffett, when he buys a company, he looks for companies that are defensible. They have a moat around them. If you hear him talk, he talks about it all the time. So when you choose your mountain, try to choose a mountain where you have a good defense, where you can play offense in terms of marketing it, but it's very defensible and won't be easy for the marauders to overtake you, your competitors. So think about these items here as you choose your mountain. When you scale your business, to get really clear on where you're going to be king of the mountain is going to help you greatly to scale. Don't be scattered. You might do a lot of follow-up services, but the more focused you can be in your marketing and in your marketing and your product delivery, the better chances you'll have of scaling your business. So we've covered 3 things so far: vision and culture, super leadership team, and now choosing that mountain. And that's a difficult process. Choosing your mountain is not easy. I just spit it out there in a 5-minute quick talk, but trust me, we hemmed and hawed, and do we really want to do this? It seemed to make a lot of sense, but once we really embraced who we were, what our niche was, what our mountain was, we really, really took off from there. So that's the first 3. Number 4, simplifying your business. Some of you may push back on this. I'm going to say things here that might be hard to envision for your business, but I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. Simplifying your business makes it easier to scale. And let's talk about it from many angles. I'm going to give you the law of complexity. Every additional variable you add to a formula, a system, it will compound the degree of complexity. For example, if you have 3 variables, there are 6 different combinations you can take those 3 variables. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? There's 6 different combinations. If you add a 4th variable, you now have 24 combinations. It's crazy, but you'll get 4 times as many combinations by adding 1 more variable. And if you add a 5th variable, you're going to have 120 different combinations. That I'm using this mathematical truism to just explain how complexity really compounds the more you add into something. And so if you can simplify your business, and I'm going to talk about 6 different ways, it's going to make it easier to scale. And I think you know what I'm talking about intuitively, right? If you go into a meeting that's normally 3 people and suddenly 3 more people come to that meeting, all of a sudden there's chaos going on in that meeting, right? It's harder to manage. And so the same thing in business. If any of you ever watch Shark Tank, I don't know if it's popular in New Zealand, but I'm always watching Shark Tank, and they talk about whenever someone's in retail and they have a lot of SKUs, it's very hard to manage a retail business. So you can see how this complexity is really inherent to, it's an inherent, issue to really take seriously as you're scaling your business. A lot of entrepreneurs want to throw more stuff in. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And they want to make it overly complex. A good second in command, by the way, should filter that out and try to keep the complexity out that the owner might throw into the business. So here's 6 different things you can simplify or keep simple in your business. The number of services you offer. When I work with companies, sometimes I'll work with a small company, even $1 million company, and I'll have all these different services. It doesn't really make any sense. Their energies are just way too distributed. Or they'll have a service, but they'll offer so many different options around that service, like property maintenance. Well, you can do it this way. You can, they'll offer different combinations of services for maintaining that property. And so look at what you're offering and look at if you've got too many services. Is there a service you should just stop offering, or a product you should stop offering because not enough people are taking advantage of it, but it takes a lot of management for you to maintain and offer. So that's the first place you can look, is by the complexity of what your services are and the number of different services or products you offer. Number 2, and this is more for design build, but it could certainly apply to nurseries, is should you limit the number of material choices for those of you that are in design build or installation. Now, if you're selling out of your own nursery, you naturally do that. We're just going to sell our materials. but a lot of companies will buy from all kinds of nurseries and have way too many choices. So the number of material choices, if you do design, I recognize many of you don't, but some of you might do design build. And there's even different design styles that you can limit yourself to keep things less complex. But I also see this within businesses, like your commission plans for salespeople, your incentive plans. I see some very complex systems that take a lot of manpower to manage, keeping those systems simple. Your reporting structure. I'll look at companies, and sometimes employees will have 2 reports, 3 reports. The whole organizational chart will be like a spaghetti mess. So keeping things simple with one direct report will make your business more scalable. Also, I see a lot of companies with complex processes, just way too much detail. Ironically, the bigger the company that I see in my space, generally they have simpler systems. So companies start out small and they're trying to create all these different processes and systems, and they're just too complex. The bigger companies have figured out, no, we're going to keep our systems and processes simple in order to be able to scale it to get more people using our system. So these are some examples of simplifying your business. I think it's a good topic for any of you to take back to your company. Where are we over complex? What are we doing now that if we want to double in size, for example, 1 to 2 million, 2 to 4, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, whatever it is. And I know these are dollars, but translated to your business. If we're going to double in size, what do we really need to grab hold of and simplify to help us do that? So it'll be an easier business to manage when we get larger. Okay, this is another book, Built to Sell. Fabulous book. You may not be thinking of selling your business, but what I like about this book is in the book, there's a fable about how the person had to simplify their services in order to make their business sellable, and they productized their services. They made their services more of a product, which is an interesting concept. It's one that I do in my own business as a consultant. And when you read the book, you'll kind of know what I mean. It's not a long book. It will help you think about how to simplify your businesses. You may not be ready to sell at all. That may not even be the topic. But, sidebar, it's always good to have your business more saleable. So this book can kind of help you think about it from a product perspective and keeping it simple. So we've now talked about 4 things here. The 5th thing I want to talk about is accountability to your systems. Absolutely key to scale. You can fake it when you're small, and when you try to fake it when you're large, it becomes a mess. And then every time you double your business, you've really got to rethink those systems and reinvent them all over again. So you can't just set it and forget it. The key problem I see is lack of accountability to systems. Getting the system simple enough and then getting everybody following those systems. ISO is an international organization that really large companies use for creating a standardization of systems. I don't know if they're popular in New Zealand. They're not really popular in the landscape green industry in the US, but I see it popular with snow companies trying to manage risk. But the concept we all should be doing, even though this is built for large companies. And the concept is consistency around process will give you consistency around results. That's it. Let's get consistency around our process. And I say people and process because if you have turnover, then your systems go out the window. So consistency around people and process will get you consistency of results. And I've done this with many clients. Here's an actual system I put together with one of my clients. We came up with roughly 30 systems, and this is his leadership team, 7 people. These are the systems here in alphabetical order. And it's basically the top 30 systems. It might be 31 31 here. But we focused on the most important systems for his business. We simplified every one of them, and we told everybody in the leadership team who owned a certain system and who was involved in a certain system who had to support certain systems. And then every week they pull this up. And if someone's not following a system, they'll get them back on track. It's a bit obsessive to do it every week. I think you could do it every month. But this client of mine, we took their weakness and turned it into a strength. Because what they've learned is if everyone's following these systems, you could call it a process, same things, everything else will work. You could start with your top 5 in your company. You could start with the weakest area of your company where you really need to get systems followed by all, and start there. And since I've been giving you guys some books to read, here's another book here. It's a book called Process. It just came out, and it will help you think about how to develop these processes or systems followed by all. And really, you need somebody in your company to be the accountability person for this endeavor. It probably shouldn't be the owner. Probably, a small company, sure, it's the owner. Larger company, it might be your second in command. Might be you have a chief administrative officer. Somebody really needs to lead this process. This book can help you. And like I said, I'm going to go back a slide here. Just pick the area in your company that needs it the most, and pick the top 5 that you're going to work on, maybe even top 3, and just start there. And have a process like I'm showing you here to bring accountability back to your processes so you can keep bringing it back to the team, making sure everyone is following their processes and being accountable to them. Okay, so we've talked about the first 5 things here. I know we're getting close on our time. This is very important, the last one, gamifying operations. Taking your operations and bringing some fun to them, some challenge to them, just like you do a game. And so we've all played games before. When I was younger, we played Twister, right? We had a lot of fun doing that. And then when I got older, we played checkers. And then the game Jenga came out, and that was always a lot of fun. The thing about games is, when you win or lose, right? Let's pick checkers. That one's very clear. Very clear who wins and who loses when you're playing a Jenga. But is it equally clear if I work for you in your company, what a win is defined as? How do I know if I'm winning when I work at your company? And so that's the point of gamifying operations, is helping everybody in their role in your company know what winning and losing is like, and even turning it into a game, if you will, and making it fun to win. So you have to define wins really for every position in your company. And some positions have multiple wins, right? If you're the safety manager, what's a win? Well, there's going to be multiple definitions of a win, right? No accidents, no lost days due to an accident. We have something called the mod factor here, workers' comp in the U.S., where you pay more if you have more accidents in your company, basically. And so that's another measure. The safety manager would also measure what their multiplier is, how their insurance costs. So different ways to measure it for a safety manager. And really, for different people in your company, there's going to be more than one win. But think about it for a laborer, for a supervisor, for a manager, for a salesperson. A division has their own wins definitions, and your company will have its own definitions of a win. And so going about and figuring this out for everybody is absolutely key. And I'm going to skip ahead a slide here. And then you want to really create a scoreboard for everybody so they can keep track of their wins. How am I doing? And you want to set up the game so it's winnable. If most people are losing in their position, you're going to demotivate them, you're going to lose them, or you've set standards that are too high. So certainly people have to be winning at least 50% of the time, if not more, right? And ultimately, for a year end, if it's the company, it better be winning. But if you're picking more of a daily or weekly score, you've got to make winning likely to happen to keep people engaged. And so with that in mind, building this habit of winning, the bottom left here, a win should be clear and simple. It should be really clear to me what a win is. It can't be too complex. It's got to be pretty simple to grasp. Don't turn it into rocket science. Bring it down to my level, my role in the company. When I'm looking at the scoreboard, I should believe on the bottom right here, I should believe that I can influence that score. If you show me a score that I don't know how the heck I'm going to influence that, it doesn't work. So it's got to be really clear for me, for my role. I know how I'm going to influence that score, and the goals, like I said, should be achievable. I should be able to hit it at least 50% of the time, and probably more, right? If you lose too much, you're going to give up. And so on the top here, the feedback I get on my score should be timely. Tell me how I'm doing every day, every week. Don't make me wait a month or 2 months or a quarter to see the score. Out of sight, out of mind. I need timely, frequent feedback. And I better believe in the numbers you share with me. There better not be errors in the numbers, wrong accounting. Oops, I made a mistake. You can make a couple mistakes, but if I lose faith in those numbers, I'm going to give up. So if you can do these 3 things here, you can develop that habit of winning, and it is infectious, absolutely infectious. So we have covered, one more thing here. So as you gamify your operations, you have to make some decisions. Do I want to add money to the game? Do I want to create incentives? Do I want to do profit sharing? Some of these topics here could be a whole separate presentation by me. I'm in favor of adding money to the game, especially profit sharing, but you have to be very careful because incentives backfire very easily. You've got to go slow. Set up your game without money, get the habit of winning going, and then you can consider adding bonuses to your game. Profit sharing works much better than individual incentives. Individual incentives are more dangerous, if you will, but can also be very powerful, right? Sales commissions, team commissions. So I'm not in disfavor of any of this. All I'm saying is tread carefully. You don't want to put out an incentive, then have to pull it back. Big no-no. And so go slowly so that you work out the problems and complexities up front so that as you implement it, you'll get buy-in and people will buy into what you're doing. You start to get some traction with the money you've added to your games. And so I guess my question for you here is, what do you need to improve in your company so you can develop that habit of winning from what I shared here? I'll send out the PowerPoint so you can take these ideas back to your company. Before I give you my final takeaway, sort of a summary of this talk, let me open it up. 2 questions from everyone out there in the conference.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Do we have any questions for Jeffrey Scott this afternoon? None? I'll be the first one, Jeffrey. How's New Orleans? What's the weather like? Oh, yes, it's nighttime. Why should we come to New Orleans and meet you? It's on my bucket list.
100%. I will tell you that. I'm going to, hold on, pulling up the weather app. It is 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Are you guys on Celsius?
Yeah, we are.
All right, give me a second here. I can do that. It is 28 degrees.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a reason to go to
29.
New Orleans for an evening weather. And your book, I see your book there behind up on your shelf. You've obviously had other books. Have you had another one beside it? Nicely, perfectly placed there on the shelf.
3 books. This one is the one I'll send to you, a link so you can download it for free. But back to New Orleans, I love talking about it. If you like music and you like food, we are famous for our restaurants. We're famous for our blues and jazz. And we have a very European flair to the city, Spanish, French architecture. It's very unique to all of the country. It's really it even has separate laws in our state. It follows the Napoleonic Code. Don't ask me what that means, but it has very unique culture. So I welcome anyone to come visit.
Awesome. We've got a question for you, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Hi, Jeffrey. Great presentation, thank you. Just a question, how do you see the importance of doing performance appraisals? Is that something that you see in the systems that you spoke about? And yeah, how much do you rate performance appraisal?
Yeah. There's so much talk about performance appraisals, right? They're good, they're bad. People need feedback. Absolutely. So you've got to do it. Too many companies don't have time and they think to themselves, well, I'm always giving him feedback or her feedback every day. But people want the attention of, hey, sit down with me, close the door, and help me grow my career. So honestly, the more you do, the better. And if you only do it once a year, it becomes a talk about pay, and that's not the point. So I'm in favor of doing it 3 times a year, 4 times a year, if you can. And so the more frequent you do it, also the lighter it is. It's less heavy if you do it more frequently. People appreciate the attention when you take time from your busy day to sit down and help them grow their career. So I know there's a lot of fads that are saying, hey, they're out of style, but people want that feedback.
Excellent, great question. Anybody else would like to talk to Jeffrey? The link that he was talking about is live if you want his free book. So Destination Company up there on the to his left ear is on the link of the conference. So NZPPI Conference.co.nz, just click on program and then you'll get the free link to that free book. And Mari's beautiful presentation's up there already as well. Great work there, Kirsty. Right, any other questions for Jeffrey? Excellent. Miranda from FMG.
Hello, Jeffrey. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. I've taken lots of notes. I was just wondering about your own personal vision. What's yours?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that question. So I run a company that coaches landscape contractors. We run peer groups. We have 125 companies in about 7 peer groups. We have a peer group just for seconds in command. And I've started bringing on some of my longtime employees who have, graduated, if you will, built really successful businesses. They're now working with me as coaches of my peer groups. And so my long-term vision for me is to really build up my organization so it can be run by my associates, my next generation, so that I can eventually sell one day or retire in place and come visit your beautiful country while they're running my business.
Have you ever been to New Zealand, Jeffrey?
Listen, I have 2 adopted children from Cambodia. And so that's the closest I've gotten to your side of the world. I've never been to New Zealand. My daughter did go to New Zealand. She brought me back this. Does that look recognizable?
Oh, yeah, Tiki. Nice. That's very good. So how old are the kids now?
Well, yeah. So this was like 8 years ago when she went, or no, not 8. This was 5 or 6. My 2 kids from Cambodia now are 21 and 24.
Oh, we look forward to welcome you into New Zealand, Jeffrey. I do have a question that has popped up on Slido. So we've got this technology. I think it's fantastic that we can zoom into your house and see your saxophone on the wall in New Orleans. But the Slido technology is pretty cool too. And it's just given me a notification of a question. Oh, it's anonymous. I can see why it's anonymous. How do you look so hot at 59? Which one was that? Who was that? Was that the lovely girl over there that answered the whole question? Wow, you guys plant people are so much fun. So can you answer that one, please?
Good food and a lot of exercise.
Good food and a lot of exercise. There you go. Does anyone have any proper questions? Oh, jazz, sax. Right. Oh, yes, we've got a question.
I'll take improper questions.
He'll take improper questions. Great. Oh, yep. We've got a run. Oh, we've even got a runner. That's impressive.
Yeah. How do you motivate the second in command? It seems like a pretty tough role for someone to fill.
It is a very tough role. Natural seconds in command are naturally motivated. You put the right person in that role, and they're going to love it. Love, 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 love it. So if you've got somebody you're trying to squeeze into that role and it's not working out, stop squeezing and really go out and get the right person.
Great answer. Good question. Anything further for Jeffrey? Because it's now coming up to sort of 7 o'clock his time. What's for dinner in your little foodie Sax part of the world? Oysters.
You have to come over and see, won't you? So here's a final slide for you guys. A couple thoughts here. Just want to end, give you some takeaways. So when you develop your 3-year vision, make sure you let other people put their ideas onto it, how to do it, etc. Number 2, choose a niche that you can rule like a king. Number 3, simplifying your services will allow you to sell more of those services and sell them faster. Number 4, you're only going to grow to the level of your leadership team. So if you're wondering why you're not growing more, look at your leadership team and how to level up that team in order to level up your company. Number 5, think of your company as a franchise, even if you're not franchising it, when you kind of build those systems. So you get your team tight around very clear systems, and that will help you scale. Number 6, measure employee satisfaction just like their clients. Get them happy, and your clients will be even happier. And number 7, get everyone excited by whatever their score is. When you start keeping score, don't use it to bash people over the head, but use it to have fun and encourage people and get people excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey Scott, our wonderful speaker from New Orleans. Jeffrey Scott Consulting, and it was inspiring and we learnt heaps. And yes, you were taking lots of notes. Were you the one that asked the question? No? All right, so now it's time to do our workforce panel, and we'd like to welcome our workforce panel to this. Oh, you want to give away those first? Righto, Hayley. These are cool. These are from ICL, and they are little mini pop-up speakers, little, what do you call it? Like a Yui boom, but a little tiny one, and they're really powerful.